Hey everybody, and welcome back to this week's vlog. Thank you again for watching my channel. We're continuing our discussion about working memory. So if I give the little sign and I can never seen, we're kind of at the bottom working up. Um, Hopefully you saw last week's about emotional control and self-regulation. Definitely important pieces. So working memory is the ability to hold information in your mind, and you're actually performing some pretty complex tasks with that. Um, Part of working memory, when I do the assessments on working memory, um, it's kind of a little misleading because yes, you are doing some rote things that increases in difficulty, so you do have to do some complex tasks with that. But working memory also pulls in prior learning, prior experiences that you can use to apply to a situation. So when I'm giving just a bunch of random numbers, it really isn't utilizing working memory very much. Um, it's really like how you can store things in your short-term immediate memory, and it holds it there for about maybe 7 seconds, less than 7 seconds. That's about how long it is. And our short-term memory can only hold between 4 and 7 bits of information. So I always had to giggle, like when my little guy would do gymnastics when he was like 3, 4, and 5 years old. A bunch of us were parents, teachers, and also we used to count the directions that the teacher would give because they would go through this course, basically an obstacle course, only doing gymnastics, and they gave 23 directions to these 3, 4, and 5 year olds, and the kids remembered them, all 23. I know we tell our kids put this away and they can't remember that, but it was important to the child, it was important to the kids. They wanted to do well, they wanted to please. Plus, these were all things that they were working on. They had prior experiences to pull upon, prior learning, and they were seeing it as it was being done as well. So those were all pieces. When you get to the balance beam, what do you do in a balance beam? You kind of walk across it. Maybe they add a jump to it. When you get to like these weird bar things, you're doing the bear walk across it. I don't remember everything, um, but that is working memory, kind of doing these things, kind of holding it in your memory, but pulling in what your experience is. So if you happen not to have a lot of experiences, and I'm not talking about things like going out and spending lots of money, I'm talking about being even creative, like going for a walk in a park, going for a walk downtown, getting outside of Concord once in a while if you're able to. And even if you're not able to, there's still lots of experiences, lots of conversations, reading books, reading just not the fiction fantasy books, but reading some nonfiction books as well. Lots of free things in our city that we can go and partake in and be a part of. So, and it also kind of helps us plan for the future as well. Um, so when I think about working memory, um, you're actually going to use either storage or queuing mechanisms to help support the working memory. So you're going to help your child kind of put information in the memory, and you can do this by using calendars, notebooks, planners, all sorts of things, and I'll talk a little bit more. Or cue, which is kind of giving a reminder to do something, and sometimes they kind of go hand in hand. A calendar can definitely be a cue, as I kind of have my calendar here looking at the clock. Okay, 2 hour delay, things have changed. So what we have, oops, I just lost the paper I was reading off of. So when we want to increase our child's storage, um, really visuals help with this. And Peg Doss and Richard Guare are great. I've been working a lot with them. If you read their books, a lot of it is kind of verbal things. um, they're really working in developing some more visual pieces. But if you have a hard time kind of thinking about what kind of visual cues or visual pieces of information I can use to help support my child's executive functioning, I suggest checking out Sarah Ward. Um, she does some great things online, a lot with visuals and colors, and it's really good information that works great even with our middle schoolers. Um, so to increase and support the storage capacity of our memory, thinking about those agenda books, which a lot of kids don't have. They have multiple classes with multiple assignments with multiple due dates. Here in the middle schools, especially 6th and 7th grade, the teachers work really well together to kind of not have things due out 2 weeks, and not have things long term, and they give time to the kids in class to work in it. When you get into 8th grade, and especially high school, that doesn't happen. You may be told about a project at the beginning of the semester that's due at the end of the semester or quarter. College does that. Here's your syllabus. You need to pay attention. Um, Calendars, notebooks also help support the storage, taking those notes. I go to Target, and if anybody's like me, I go into Target, spend like billions of dollars, and then I leave not with the things that I wanted. So I do use the notes on my phone. So that way I can write a quick little list as I'm thinking of things. And plus, it's really nice that it's on my phone for notes that as I'm thinking of things, I can quickly type it in my phone, and then I can put it on a different kind of list elsewhere. Calendars, I happen not to like online calendars. The only reason why I keep an online calendar is for other people at work so they know where I am and what I'm doing. I prefer a paper calendar, so I continue to do that. So you can go hand in hand. A lot of us have sticky notes, always on my desk, sticky notes, to-do lists. I mean, I've got one right here. I've got a bunch of my calendar over there. To-do lists, voice recorders. People used to have like little voice recorders as a whole. Now people do it on their phones. So definitely use the electronic devices to help support that. And then how do you use cues? So with cues, they have to be, in order to be effective, they have to be unusual and unexpected, because you don't want it to blend in with the background. You don't want it to be a part of your everyday. So, auditory sometimes is more effective than visual. And sometimes the cue is to look at the storage device that you're using. And you can increase the importance of it through practice. So just to give you guys an example, every day I'll sit here. I think I've said before, my office happens to be next door to Mrs. Chapman and Mrs. Sweet's desk. Every day I'll hear kids come in. I forgot my gym bag. Can I call home? Can I call home because I forgot this or I forgot that? And I understand that every once in a while kids do forget things. We forget things. It happens. But when I see the same kids every day, and you as a parent don't want to be called, and you have to leave work, and I would stop saying no. First of all, stop being their frontal lobe for them. Remember, we want to coach them and not to do for them, and there's that fine line. If your child happens to be a kid who never ever forgets, and it's convenient for you, go ahead and help them out. However, if it's not convenient for you, they forget all the time, they're going to need to learn to start to use something else to help them remember their things. So simply, like, for some kids, simply putting the backpack by the door is not unexpected and unusual enough, because I just grab the backpack and go. So if you feel like you have a kid who's constantly forgetting, and you feel like you're rewarding the behavior by picking it up and saving them and bringing it to school, whatever it may be, you can develop a list. And sometimes we have lists that we use for kids to go home. Sometimes they have it in their locker. And we're going to talk more kind of down the line about planning and organization, so I don't want to get into that too much right now. But sometimes simple lists, and I'll show you one real quick in a book that I have, of things that your child will need to remember. So when you are at the end of the day, or at night before the kids go to bed, let's pack up your backpack. And sometimes using these folders, this is a plastic one, or the plastic sleeves that you put in, those are great, because then you can get dry erase markers and use the same thing over and over. Maybe you want to print it out on brightly colored paper, whatever it may be. But how is it that you're going to help, you and your child are going to work together to figure out how we're going to get the information into the backpack that they need to go the next day, so that way, but it's unusual. Small dry erase boards can also work for checkoff. Those are all things that you can do and practice, making your child. And if they're like, you may have to give the cue, did you pack the backpack? And if they say yes, you as a parent can say, get your backpack and let's check together. I wouldn't go check without them. because that's not helping them retrain their brain. That is basically, again, being their frontal lobe, which is not what we want to do. We want to coach them. Some cueing reminders that we can use. This is the verbal reminders, as I just said. Alarms on watches or on clocks can definitely work. Prominently, like I was talking about, those prominently displayed visual cues. If you got a ton of things on your refrigerator, they might not see the checklist that you leave for them. And then think about those naturally occurring times in the environment. Many people take medication first thing in the morning, or they just vitamins or whatever it may be. Putting those in front of the cereal box. You know that they're going to have whatever cereal it is. Put it in front of the cereal box. And when you put it on the counter the night before, put the medication right in front of the cereal box. So that way they know that's the first thing that they do. Of course, if they like frozen things, putting frozen medication in the freezer may not be good for the medication. So you may have to think of something else. And incorporating recurring phrases can also be helpful as well. So as with everything else, as I was saying, you definitely want to work out with your child. So sitting down and saying, this is a problem, this is not working. What are we going to do? And like I talked about before and in prior videos, start to develop some cues. What is it that you would like me to do to help you? Not do for you, but to help you. How is this going to help you? What can we do? And again, nothing is off the table. Usually the things that the kids are asking for are not outlandish. They're not out of the ordinary. Sometimes it's pretty simple things that kids can come up with. So you can develop those cues, write down a plan, write it out as how it's going to look. And then rehearse with the cue and the working memory, and sometimes practice that even though it's like Saturday morning, hey, did you do your backpack yet? Just so they can hear that. And then, in the beginning, you want to err on the side of caution of cueing a lot. You may think that your child has it, but they don't. So you really want to err on the side of caution of cueing more than what you think you need to. Because especially in this early stages, they're retraining their brain, and it's going to be very easy to go into some of those old habits and old pathways. And then make sure that you take time. This is so important. Make sure you take time to monitor and evaluate how this is going. Because, I write up behavior plans or academic and learning plans, executive functioning plans, and then put them out there. And then all of a sudden it's like 6 months and it's like, oh, it doesn't work. And they knew like in 2 weeks. So, setting aside time at least once a week, especially in the beginning, is going to be so important to evaluate how all of this is going for you, and what is working and what isn't working. So, touching base with the kids, your kids, will be definitely important. So as I said, I was going to show you a quick plan, take-home plan. So let me just pull it up here. So this is from this book, Executive Skills in Children and Adolescents. It's by Richard Guare and Peg Dawson. As I said, I've been working with Peg quite a bit. So just to kind of give you, that's like an end of the day checklist. I'm not going to put it too close, but as you can see, there's things written down that are important for the kid, and then they check it off that it was packed in the bag. Easy peasy to create. Definitely a Word document. You're creative, write it up, whatever it may be. Work it out with your child of how that's going to work. So next week is vacation, so I hope you all have a wonderful February vacation break. Relaxing, enjoy the time with your kids. Hopefully you can all do something fun together. And I will see you in 2 weeks. Again, thank you for watching, and any questions, please let me know. Bye.